On va dans l'internet.
Mesdames et messieurs, bienvenue sur Internet.
Wow.
Some of it is pure selfishness on our part, that we wanted to work together again and love Ralph and Vanellope. They're best friends, and it's going to sound cheesy, but I think of them as my friends. And so we felt that there were still more stories to tell with these two characters, and if the first film is chapter 1, this felt very much like chapter 2 of their friendship, that their friendship had just begun, really, when the film ended, the first film. And so we had more places to explore and more themes that we wanted to check out with them.
A little differently, it was more how we worked together on Zootopia, actually, or Zootopie, as it was called here. Just about every single thing we did together, you know.
Which wasn't that way. I was one of the writers on the first film.
Yeah, so on the first film, I was directing, Phil was writing. So this was really a two-person job to make this film because it's so big. What really made me feel like we have to do another movie beyond just wanting to have fun again. We were looking at the first movie, and it ends, if you remember, with Ralph feeling very good, you know, about his life. And he says in narration, talking about Vanellope, if that little kid likes me, how bad can I be? And at the time when we wrote that and created that scene, we thought, perfect, you know, what a perfect grace note. And the more that we examined it, we both said, that's not very healthy, you know, that is not a healthy way for Ralph to be living. He's saying that he defines who he is by what Vanellope thinks, by what another person thinks of him. And personally, I didn't like the feeling that poor Ralph was living that way for the rest of eternity, you know. So it was important to me that we get him to a place where basically that he loved himself, you know, that he wasn't existing on the love of others, you know, that he was going to be okay. The genesis of the scene was like what we always do, where we say, wouldn't it be funny if Ralph met the princesses, if he's taking an online personality quiz about, are you an Anna or an Elsa, you know, and he meets Anna and Elsa, and it's kind of like, wouldn't that be funny, you know, and wouldn't it be funny if Vanellope met them too, you know, and she's kind of a rebel, you know, but she is a Disney princess, and they kind of help Vanellope realize who she is, you know, and she finds common ground with the iconic Disney princesses, and it made us laugh, you know, and we said, well, let's keep working on this, you know, maybe it can be more than just a joke, you know, because like Phil says, you can't just have a scene in a movie that's a joke, you know, it has to be adding to the story.
Salut. Wow, on se calme les filles, je suis une princesse moi aussi.
Working with these classic characters, so much of the English language voice cast came back to play those characters again, where it was very emotional for a lot of these actresses to have this reunion. It became more than what it started as, I think. And I think that's why it does feel like a pivotal scene in the movie, that it's definitely a highlight of the film.
I think we knew almost from the first time we showed it that people were going to react to it in a way that made them a little crazy. It almost became like the sloth scene in Zootopia, where, you know, that scene on its own is a funny scene, but then it's also important to the story of the film. And this one had a very similar feel to it, where, I mean, it was almost as if the Beatles reunited when we showed this scene at the D23 Expo, which is a Disney fan event. They went nuts when they saw 14 princesses together. And I remember after we finished, we were walking out, there was a woman just sitting in her seat like, it was like Elvis and the Beatles and had come together.